Are you living the divine life? Many of us are not, and there just might be a few things keeping us from this. Welcome to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. In our program, you'll learn to use the tools that have been given to you to make changes that you need, and by doing so, come one step closer to living that divine life. Now, here is your host, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson.
Namaste, beloved Seventh Way family. So today is a great day for each of us to proclaim our divinity by living a life of magic and meaning as each of us lives the sacred story of our lives. So let us take a moment to center ourselves as I speak the words of wisdom from Chapter 8, Why Are You on This Adventure?, from the amazing and insightful book, The Map, Finding the Magic and Meaning in the Story of Your Life. Why are you on this adventure? I have found that you do have only to take that one step toward the gods, and they will then take 10 steps toward you. That step, the heroic first step of the journey, is out of or over the edge of your boundaries. And it often must be taken before you know that you will be supported. Diane K. Osborne. No pessimist ever discovered the secrets of the stars, or sailed to an uncharted land, or opened a new heaven to the human spirit. Helen Keller. If the map is the road map of a life adventure, what is it that you seek as you journey forward? Why are you here? What is the purpose of this grand adventure? These are the questions that we will ponder as we speak to our guest for today, the amazing author of The Map, Finding the Magic and Meaning in the Story of Your Life, Colette Baron-Reid. Colette is an internationally renowned intuitive counselor, educator, and best-selling Hay House author who helps others recognize and connect with their own intuition, potential, and purpose. She is a powerful motivational speaker, charismatic broadcast personality, an acclaimed performer, storyteller, and recording artist. Colette uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower her clients to live a life that is awake and authentic, and to create a reality that is spiritual, deliberate, and meaningful. Inspired and informed by the study of metaphysics, spiritual, transpersonal, and Jungian psychology, Colette's approach combines her knowledge with the profound intuitive gifts she has been harnessing and refining since childhood with her trademark warmth, integrity, and humor. Her infectious laughter and personality inspires many people to call her the Rachel Ray of the metaphysical world. And with that, I welcome Colette Baron-Reid. Thank you very much, Colette.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be here. I love your show, and I'm very excited that you've asked me for a guest. And it's so cool to listen to you talk about my book. I'm very proud of it. So, I'm very excited about it.
Many, many thanks. As I was saying to you before the show started, I'm not sure exactly when I first found the first deck of cards that you have, your oracle cards. I want to say that it was Wisdom of the Hidden Realms, and it was right after I had taken a workshop at a Unity Church on dream interpretation, and I was looking for something else to, supplement and give me some insight. And the amazing thing is that deck and then Wisdom of Avalon just opened things up for me in a way that I really wasn't expecting. So because of that, I knew that you had to be one of the guests on the show. So once again, thank you.
Thank you.
So the book, now, when I started reading this and thinking about, she's going to be on the show in about 4 weeks, just the preface and the introduction could be 3 whole shows just by itself. I mean, you have a lot of amazing information in here. So I guess let's just start with, tell our listeners who you are and how you got to be where you are, I guess.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding? It's going to take 2 hours.
In 3 minutes or less.
Let me just, okay, so first of all, I mean, you brought up the map. The map is really a culmination of 22 years of my own fascination with archetypal psychology, the hero's journey, Jung's active imagination, pathway making, and all the things that I've seen about people. You know, I've read, as an intuitive counselor, I've read over 33,000 people till now, and actually until when I wrote the book, so it's probably more since then. But, so, you know, I've worked as an intuitive. Now, some people think of the word psychic, but I prefer not to use it only because it's, you know, there's some connotations around it, although frankly, I am one. So, but the intuitive counseling became more than just I could see about someone's life. It was more about, okay, how do I track this journey and how do I see the genesis of what's really going on for them? So it became something different. It evolved into something that's complex and discerning, and then this book, The Map, was a result of that. So I've written other books and created oracle systems, like you said. I became a divination expert over the years, and actually all this along the way was me trying to get a record deal to be a singer. And when I wasn't looking, and I kept failing at that, I got really successful at this. So man plans and God laughs, really. So I really don't want to. I mean, here's the thing. I see this book, because I want to talk about the book as a way to help empower people to find their way when they are lost, and to take responsibility, to take a look at themselves and recognize where they've been in their life and how that's still affecting them. And I've given them a wonderful template based on those things like Jungian psychology. As I studied Jung over the years because I was interested in why people made choices the way they did. And since I did readings, I was thinking, like, that's so interesting. This person is going to end up here. Why is that? And it's because they're thinking this. And so I kind of went backwards. I'd experienced what I did with my client, and then I'd say, I need to learn about this. I need to understand this a little bit more as to why. So I'm not a psychologist, but I say my work is informed by it because I have a fascination, as did Jung, with synchronicity and archetypes, and, you know, Plato and you know, and all the other philosophers that talked about the world of thought having a relationship to the world of form.
Right.
And so, and the earlier metaphysicians from the turn of the century, like Mary Baker Eddy, and, you know, and the list goes on. Ernest Holmes. So, you know that I have my oracle cards, so I love the idea that we could create these fantastical archetypes that could represent different experiences of the human being and put beautiful pictures on them and let them speak to you as a language. So I became an expert at doing that. And so using that same idea, I looked into who else told stories through these kind of things. And you know, you go back prior to the advent of psychology, which is really a modern therapeutic template. So you have, prior to that, modern science, prior to that, you had folk tales and fairy tales. That's how people learned about life and learned about their social world and their economic world, and they told stories. Right. The Aboriginal cultures told stories, archetypal stories, things that they could learn about themselves through. So when it came time to write the map, I used a similar technique where I get the person to see their life as an adventure using these fantastical, mythological, characters and descriptions so that they can detach and look with a very different pair of eyes at something that could be too personal and become more neutral. So really the book is teaching people how to be at peace and have a neutral perspective on things that may be troublesome for them.
Excellent.
So that they get a better idea of the next step or a different, again, it's all about perception and perspective.
Right.
And I wanted to make it easy to use. I wanted it to be non-threatening and non-analytical. So the whole body of work that came out of the map is an intuitive body of work. So it's all about the right brain. It's about bypassing the left brain, analytical mind and logical mind, reasoning mind, and into the realm of fantasy and imagination and intuition.
Okay.
Because the subconscious, which is and the unconscious, doesn't speak English, it speaks pictures.
Right.
It does. It engages us with imagery and pictures and myth. So, so that's what happened. And the map, by the way, now is published in 18 languages, and it is the basis of my coaching school, which is starting in 2012, called the Master Intuitive Coach Institute, where I train people how to use this process in all these different areas, which is wealth creation, weight release, and relationships and heart dynamics, too.
Excellent. And I know that you just released your next set of oracle cards that are based on the map as well.
Yes, cool. yes.
Okay,
yes,
well...
And the enchanted map. The enchanted map oracle cards, which were loosely based on the other. Really, these are just beautiful, beautiful pieces of art with messages and sayings. But my oracle systems work, and they're very accurate because they are based on ancient systems that have existed for thousands of years, and I have created hybrids of them. So you'll notice that there's a hybrid of runes and the I Ching and tarot, but I've created brand new systems based on the old ones. So you'll see pieces of them, how I kind of mush them all together.
Right,
and I test them until they actually work, and they really do tell the story. So the Enchanted Map Oracle cards, they go along with the book where you're actually looking at different landscapes or possible experiences that you would have on a journey.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to getting those. So as we prepare for our first break, I'd like to jump into the introduction where you mentioned to the reader that what you believe has a great influence on where you find yourself when you look within. So when we come back from break, if you could talk about what it is that you find that people, because you mentioned that you went to the Jungian archetypes, etc., to help you with greater insight into why did people make these choices. So when we come back from break, if you could talk a little bit more about what it is why people should be more mindful of the thoughts that they think, I suppose.
Bingo.
Okay. So you are listening to Living a Sacred Life on Voice America. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Your online community for positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
Our society is spiraling out of control. Are you stressed out and concerned about the events occurring around you? Is there hope? Yes, there is. Tune in to Living in the End Times, featuring your host, Monita Dukia, who will help you understand and navigate these perilous times. Living in the End Times airs live Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern Time, on Seventh Wave.
There's a course offered on Seventh Wave Network that you never saw offered in college. One that provides information on how to transform ancient wisdom teachings into everyday life. You'll learn how to create from your spirit and explore the world with all of your senses. Participation is encouraged. Enroll in Spirituality 101, the course you can't afford to miss, with your host, Reverend Norma. Class is in session every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific Time, in your favorite classroom. Seventh Wave Network.
Awakened media for a transforming world. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to seventhwave@pfcls.org. Now let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
Hello, and welcome back. So the question that I posed to our wonderful guest today, Colette Baron-Reid, which I didn't phrase very clearly or very well, so I shall rephrase the question. In the book, in the introduction, you say, what you believe has a great influence on where you find yourself when you look within. Why is it that people should be more mindful of what they believe, and how does that affect where they find themselves? Hope that was better.
Here's the thing. What we are coherent with in the outer world, and I believe everything is energy. So, and that if our thoughts are also energy, and science is now proving that's true, but whatever we believe is what we become, and what we become then is coherent with its same energy in the outer world. Plus, when the subconscious is habitually reinforced by an idea, it becomes a belief or a truth that you take on as truth. So that's what you will notice in the outer world. Like the subconscious mind is a delivery system that actually points your eyeballs. It's like why, for example, a woman who is abused, who believes that she should be abused, is going to see 10 men in a row. They all look exactly the same, but she's going to pick the only guy in there that's hit a woman because that's who she's going to resonate with. So whatever you believe is what you're going to look for in the outer world to reinforce that which you have taken on as your truth. So I challenge people to take a look at what they believe. And do you inherit those beliefs? Is it something that you really believe, or is it because you think you should believe that, or is it because your parents believed it, or is it because society tells you to, etc.? So I ask people to really take a look at what is within them that creates and again repeats, because whatever you see that repeats is directly related to what you believe about yourself and the world at large.
Right.
So mindfulness is about asking yourself too, is this the highest good? Is this for the highest good? Or do I keep on reinforcing something? And I'm a living proof of this. I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict. I've been clean and sober almost 26 years. I will be even a day at a time. January 2nd is my dry date. So I was gang raped when I was 19. I come from some violence. I have come from some pretty dark places. And I believed that I was unworthy. I believed that I was dirty. I believed that the only God of my understanding at that time was going to follow me around with a fly swatter. And, so I believed certain things about life that kept being reinforced by who I chose to be around. And when I had a spiritual awakening at the age of 27, and I believed that God didn't make junk, and that I saw a tree, and that the compulsion to drink and drug and hurt myself was removed. And ever since then, I have committed myself to constantly looking at and inventorying what in me is not in alignment with wholeness or holiness, right? Wholeness. So, and the wounded ego, or the ego self, will come up with all kinds of things that will to identify itself. So anyway, that's a long answer.
No, that's fine. Quick segue because I want to get into the 4 parts of the map. Part 1, orienting yourself on the map, etc. But real quick question, still back onto the beliefs. How do you assist people in finding what they're consciously believing that they're manifesting versus the subconscious beliefs that they may not even realize that they're harboring?
You know what? You just bleeped out for a second. I don't know what happened to the phone. Okay. So can you just say what you just said in the first part of the sentence?
Yes, ma'am. When you're dealing with or helping someone realize that their beliefs are shaping or manifesting in their life, how do you help them get from their conscious beliefs that they can identify versus the subconscious or unconscious beliefs that they may not even realize they have?
Well, you can just take a look at your story and see your unconscious speaks loudly, because whatever is habitually showing up in your life is a representation of what you have not brought to consciousness. And that is something that Jung had said, which is, and again, I'm not a psychologist, I'm just interested in this.
Right.
I didn't have time to finish a degree, right? But the point is that, like Jung said, that whatever you don't bring to consciousness seemingly comes to us as fate. But the truth is that you can see what you are coherent with and what you believe according to looking back over your life from the day you were born at what are the things that keep repeating in your life. And those are the things that are going to show you what you truly believe.
Right.
Because
situations, events, and people.
Sorry?
Yep. You there?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, no,
It's
I said so.
retrograde.
It's not
It's
just
Mercury retrograde in astrology. It means everything is communication. I don't know what it is. My phone is fine, but I think I'm going to have to ask you repeat what you just said.
That's fine. No, I said it's not just the situations or the events, but it's the people that show up as well who are mirroring back to you whatever's going on within you.
Awesome. Oh, yes. Gosh, I didn't hear that at all. My goodness, 100%. Of course, the events, the people are essential to the events. I mean, the events are made from people, synchronistic events, but the people who will mirror you, and exactly, you will choose somebody, for example, if this is you keep saying, oh my God, here I am again, they remind me of so-and-so. You'll say, ooh, I have something to learn from that person. What in me is mirrored in that person? And we'll notice it, the people that bug us the most.
Yes,
because those are the parts of us that we want to disown.
Right.
So what I believe is that, if people are really on a path to create a life that they want for the highest good of all, then you cannot move forward. You're either living out of your past or you're living out of your imagination. Your history or your imagination. I think Steve Jobs said that. That's a quote of his. And
nice.
And it's very true. We are either going to repeat things over and over again that you learned either from the ages of 0 to 6, whatever you picked up from your parents, and in developmental psychology, that's what they say, that the environment will dictate the nature of the cell, is what Bruce Lipton says in biology. And it's like the idea that it is everything that surrounds us that dictates who we will become. And if we are unconscious, if we don't make choices, they will mold us and shape us, and we will take those on as our truths. And so, if we're unhappy, nobody's going to change anything they're happy about, okay? It's like, well,
right.
Why would you? Right? and
exactly.
Big changes only come out of discomfort. And when we're pushed to change, it's never fun, right? So, I know personally I have my claw marks on absolutely everything I've ever had to give up. So, no. So, it's these times, and especially now more than ever, all of us are being faced at this time in our lives. In 2012, it's a date that is not just a date; it's a process or an evolution of the human species, where we are becoming more and more aware of our unity,
right.
and more aware of our responsibility to one another. And first time in human history where someone on one side of the planet knows almost simultaneously what's happening on the other side of the planet through technology.
Right.
So, and now we're seeing the loosening and the destruction of the foundations that we have built to support society that are no longer supporting us. So we're in this kind of cool and very uncomfortable metamorphosis stage before the caterpillar is actually the butterfly, when he's having a nightmare inside that little cocoon without any, naked and shivering and going, I think I can fly, but what happened to my leaf? Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we're all there. So my book and my work right now, and why I decided to create the coaching school to teach actually coaches and therapists, et cetera, to use this process, is all about helping people be empowered to be awake and authentic about their choices, and to have a sense of humor too, but to really ask themselves, is this really what I want? Because most of us have been taught that the world of form is our destination, but truly it's the experiences that we think those forms are going to give us. That's why we want them.
Right.
And we're taught that. We're propagandized that, oh, you have to have this, you'll get that. Like, look at the ads. If you get a Ferrari, you're going to get a big, oopsie. If you get, you know what I'm saying. So,
right, exactly.
If you get this, you're going to have that. What's that Axe commercial, right, where the guy gets all these girls and he just puts this thing in his underarms? Or women. If we, if we're a certain weight and we're this, we're going to get the, gorgeous man or whatever it is. We're sold that this experience is what you're going to get if you get this thing. But that's not the truth. The truth is we really want to manifest the experience of being happy, being productive, being engaged in community with others. All these things that we really want are now really what we have to start looking at. We cannot get any of those things if we are not willing to take a look at the hidden agendas that we carry individually, because we can't do anything for the big picture. We have to get much more localized right now and look at ourselves. Like Michael Jackson's song, The Man in the Mirror, should be our theme song right now.
Right. Well, as we prepare for our next break, I just want to throw out that I often tell people when people say things like they want to have $1 million and it's not really the money that they want, and I challenge them saying, well, you don't really want the money, because if I gave you $1 million, you'd want something else. You want what the money can give you. And
that's right.
If say it's that Ferrari, you want $1 million so you can buy the Ferrari. Well, it's not even because you want the Ferrari. You want what the Ferrari is going to help you to be able to feel, whether that's freedom or a sense of adventure. So it's always something intangible that we want, but we label it or put that, what you said, that physical manifested thing that whatever people have taught us in our childhood, we've been indoctrinated to believe we want stuff rather than what the stuff represents.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, as we get ready for break, when we come back, if you don't mind, let's talk about the 4 parts of your book and just, go over what each of the part represents and how that can, in a small amount of time, sort of condense your workshop. How each of us is on the journey and what that entails based upon these 4 parts. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. So I'm Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson. You're tuned into Living a Sacred Life on Voice America, the Seventh Wave Network. We will be right back.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
Goodbye, self-critical. Hello, self-thrilled. Can you define your talent in 6 words or less? Are you using your inner resource, intuition, to teach you how? Listening to Joyce Anderson of Conversations with Yourself will work your intuitive muscle to discover your divine talent. Each week, your host, Joyce Anderson, teaches practices to jumpstart your intuition as your GPS to becoming self-thrilled. From sports to business to music and food, talent is everywhere. Find yours. Joyce and her guests will share their how-to stories on being self-thrilled. Tune in to Conversations with Yourself, Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the 7th Wave Channel, and ignite your talent. Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
Being Here with Ariel and Shia Kane is an ordinary person's guide to modern-day enlightenment. This show is an exciting exploration which opens the door to living in the moment. Don't miss Being Here. Tune in every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern with Ariel and Shia Kane right here on the 7th Wave Network.
Be extraordinary. 7th Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to 7thwave@pfcls.org. Now, let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today as we speak to internationally renowned intuitive counselor, best-selling author, and educator, Colette Baron-Reid. So, Colette, part one of the map. Orienting yourself on the map. What does that entail?
Okay, so I tell people that they ask 3 questions. My book asks people to answer 3 questions, and actually that's how I'm training coaches to do the same thing with their clients. So the first question you ask to orient yourself in your map is, where am I? Okay. And the best time to do that is to ask yourself, especially when you're stressed or something's happening where your emotions and your experience may be challenging, right? So you're experiencing reaction to something. Through any kind of negative emotion or challenging emotion. So I'll say, where are you? And in less than 3 minutes, if you just take a breath and you say, just show me my landscape. So the landscape is a metaphoric environment, because we do live in the environment of our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So we translate those feelings at that moment into a landscape, and we describe it. And we say, okay, I'm sitting here, and I'm going here, and I'm in a swamp right now, and feel like I'm in quicksand, but and then you say, well, what else is there? Well, there are trees, and they're this, and then you just continue to name what you see in your mind's eye, because your intuition and your imagination will deliver you these, because the subconscious speaks in pictures, right? The unconscious, So we would start to see these things, and by the time you become the watcher of them, you become a witness, and then you become completely neutral. You've neutralized the challenging feelings, because after all, it is a landscape, and the landscape can be left, or you can go up in a bird. I mean, I have a whole process there, which I'm not going to do on the radio, but it's very, very, very powerful. And it comes actually from, this came from me asking a series of questions about the hero's journey, which is Joseph Campbell's body of work. So first it was Jung, then it was Campbell. And Campbell's work has been created in a lot of New Age teachers, or if you will, New Thought teachers, like Debbie Ford's Shadow Process, Carolyn Mace's Archetypes, etc. Archetypal astrology, which Robert Ohado does. So, and I decided, well, let me ask a question about this. Like, if the hero has 1,000 faces, which are the archetypal faces that we know, like the warrior, the wounded child, all this, like that's the kind of archetypal work that is out there now, the shadow work. And then, well, if we're that person, and we are the person with 1,000 faces, like we're the one on a journey, we're the hero of the myth of our own life, wouldn't we also have to travel through 1,000 mythical archetypal places that represent the state of mind? So instead of being a warrior, what if we're wandering in a battleground? And then would we not be then letting that be outside of us, instead of looking in our navels basically all the time? We become the watcher or the witness, and that immediately neutralizes it. So that's why we do this process. And then you can orient yourself and go, what could I learn here? What could I learn about what just came up for me? And what is beauty in the treasure? Where's the treasure here? Could there be treasure? Like, for example, if we're wandering in a desert, and if we find that, oh my God, nothing is going on, I just feel like I'm in a desert, and then I say, okay, let's keep describing the desert. What does a desert represent? Well, what lives in a real desert? Well, a desert if you look at the life in a desert, it breeds resilience. So every single landscape that you could see and wander through in your mind's eye for less than 3 minutes can teach you something that you cannot see when you're in a reactive state. And then you can recognize that there is love everywhere, and that you can be at peace no matter what you're looking at. So and then that's the basic, the real foundation of my work, the map, because the map is then a series of places that you visited.
Okay. Because like chapter 3, they lost in the Ghostlands.
Yeah, and the Ghostlands. Well, the Ghostlands is an interesting place, because the Ghostlands is when everything stops having substance, is when you get too ambitious about the future. And you'll notice that a lot with people who practice the law of attraction, and, where they're constantly focused on the goal or the form. And I love that you and I talked about that earlier. I love what you said about that, about, you keep asking why. Wait, you want, what else do you want? What else do you want? What else do you want? It's the thing you think you want, the intangible thing. But, where you become so goal-focused, you've forgotten about the steps you need to take in the now, and you become an armchair astronaut.
Oh, wow. I love that phrase.
The armchair astronaut. So, because you never really lift off, you just sit there and stare, right? Or possibly go. And same thing with the past. If you're in any resentment, or if you're being triggered on a past event that's not now, you're in a ghost land. It has no substance, true substance for what is really happening right now. So many of us are being triggered right now around fear because we're being told in the news. We really do have a limitation about what we're able to see. There's so much good news in the world right now, but all we're seeing is Wall Street and banks and the dollar, the deficits, the euro, and all these things that are definitely the foundations that are being shaken. But nobody really talks about the small communities that are binding together and finding new ways of eating and like buying locally and all these things, these wonderful things that are happening around the world, people inventing new things that could help us. So, we have a filter for what we're actually being presented, which becomes our reality the more it gets habituated and reinforced.
Gotcha.
So even that right now, fear is a reactive state. So I'm saying if we can just neutralize that and say, where am I really? Does this really have anything to do with what's really happening to me right now, in this moment, at this time, as I breathe? Most of the time we're going to say no.
Right.
Unless we're really in a battleground and somebody's shooting a gun at us, in which case run and hide and scream. I mean, then we have a real reason to be afraid, and then we'd have to run, right? So, but for the amount of stress and fear and we are the richest, some of the richest countries in the world, and we are the ones that are the most impoverished in our spirits.
Right. Excellent.
No concept. One of the other reasons I wrote this book, The Map, is to remind us. I mean, my father was an environmentalist. I am very much, ecology, environmentalism is very interesting to me, and indigenous teachings where I've always been fascinated by cultures who revered the earth and nature. Right. And I'm very much my higher power, my God of my understanding, or the goddess of my understanding. It's neither God or goddess, but it no longer resides for me in the church or Christian teachings that I was raised in, but more now in the fact that I believe that there is a divine intelligence within everything. There's a soul in everything, including a rock. So that that everything is sacred. I just want to segue into something. Bolivia just passed a law that instead of human rights, that nature has rights now.
So they did pass it.
Mother Nature has rights in Bolivia. That law passed.
Beautiful.
And
it's only a matter of time before it ripples out.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that the places that we travel in our outer world, we have really lost touch with the earth. And we've lost touch with our own inner earth. We are constantly striving for things that we don't even know why we want them anymore.
Right. And it's because, last week was Black Friday, and, how many people were out getting maced or corralled by the police because they thought, for some reason, they just had to have whatever it was.
Wasn't it that somebody got maced because they wanted a $2 waffle maker?
Oh, see, I missed that. Wow.
Yeah. And then we drove up to the bookstore and we went to see a movie, and there were people camping in front of Best Buy in tents for 2 days.
To get what? An iPad 2?
I don't know what they went to get because I didn't go. Because I'm like, I don't need anything that bad. And it's pretty amazing. Our consumer culture is it's crazy. That said, it's still our culture, and we should be proud of what we've created. We are a creative people.
Right.
The human species are creative. But where are we going to bring that creativity in alignment to if we're constantly afraid of not getting what we think we're supposed to have?
Right. And I guess in context of your book, them camping out at Best Buy is part of them, or part of their navigation system on the map of their journey, because for whatever reason they felt navigated, they felt called, whatever, to go to Best Buy as part of their journey, I guess, through their own ghost lands to get, something, but it's part of their own awakening as well.
Yeah, I'm not putting 100%. Not one person would I ever look at and say, I don't understand, or that they are wrong and I am right. It's just that it is a statement that, maybe their big thing is maybe they couldn't afford anything and they found something that they got. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying the culture in general with this Black Friday mobs and all that stuff, just in general, is sad.
Right.
Just, it is
because,
to me.
Once again, because we're looking for stuff outside of ourselves rather than, that light or whatnot, the divinity within ourselves.
Yeah, I have nothing against stuff. I love stuff. I just don't want too much stuff. I don't want to, I've had too much stuff before. I'm more stuff, and I had to have more stuff because that stuff wasn't good stuff. And then because I got that bad stuff, I thought I should give away that stuff, and then somebody else could have stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, I do.
I love electronic gadgets. I love gadgets. Do I need them all? No. I've stopped myself from buying them. I even now will only shop in clothing stores where I know I can bring it back, because by the time I get home and I realize, what have I just done? I don't need this. I take it back. Right? So.
And I think that's the difference, though, because a lot of us believe we need the iPad 2 when we really don't need it. We're just following, the consumerist brainwashing that says, like you said before, this guy runs out to get the Axe spray, believing that when he sprays this, he's going to go to the club and he's going to get a harem. It's not happening.
But I do want that iPad too. And I do think I need it. See? I need
I don't think you're going to go camp out for it, though.
I know I don't. But that's the other thing, too. We make a living. That's our currency, and then we want to exchange our currency for other ideas of what other people have created for us to help us have better lives. So I have an old iPad. I don't need a new one. But when this one falls apart, I will buy the next one. Why? Because I do use it. Do I need it? No. Can I afford it? Yes. Right. I work very, very hard, and I use it for my work, too. But I know what we're talking about more is filling a God-shaped hole.
Right.
With things. It's like that's not, I can have stuff and have a spiritual life.
Right. I got you.
I want to have both, but not to the point where I don't want to make my higher power a thing.
Exactly.
My higher power has to be the goodness in the world, you being authentic, being moral, doing the best I can to help other people, knowing that the purpose that I have, even if it's to smile at somebody at the grocery store, it's you're either going to carry love or you're going to carry fear, and it really does boil down to that.
Exactly.
I want to be the one that carries love.
Amen. You and me both. Mm-hmm. So when we come back from break, let's talk about Chapter 7, Treasures, Talismans, and Medicine Bags, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is that okay with you? Thank you for listening to Living a Sacred Life. I'm Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. We'll be right back after these messages.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
There is a lot more going on in religion and government than what high-ranking officials are telling you. The Bible uncovers the truth, prophecies, and a world of opportunities. Get the answers you need when you tune into the program To the Stars and Beyond with your hosts Michael List and Adam Hong. We'll explore the religious and spiritual beliefs from ancient history to the prophecies that are shaping the world and current events of today. To the Stars and Beyond airs live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern on Seventh Wave Network.
Yes, you can live a more positive and spiritual life. One step you can take each week is to tune in to What We're Thinking About with host Ken Ludwig. This program is designed to provide thought-provoking discussion after each week's show. Ken and his guests will challenge you to look at things in an entirely different way, to step outside the comfort zone and see the universe as it truly is. What We're Thinking About can be heard live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America 7th Wave channel.
Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
The new home for visionary positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymont Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to seventhwave@pfcls.org. Now, let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
Okay, welcome back for our final segment. And what we're going to do for this final segment is Colette's going to, I guess, sort of quickly sum up a little bit more of the book, and then we're going to use our last couple of minutes to highlight your seminar, your workshop, I forget what you called it now. What was it called again?
Oh, Master Intuitive Coach Institute. It's launching in January.
Excellent, excellent. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and real quickly, I don't know where you want to jump in. What I said before the break was treasures, talismans, and medicine bags. If you want to say a couple of words about that, or you want to just jump straight into Institute.
We all have knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge becomes wisdom when we use it. When we really recognize that we have learned something, and so when we're faced with it, then we know that we can look back on our life prior and say, you know what, I know this. And you plant the seeds of your wisdom, which we can say it's a medicine bag. It's like the things that you have learned, that you have healed from, you bring it with you so that when you're faced with it again, you don't have to go through it again. But many people, they'll repeat something expecting a different result when it's true that we already have that knowledge. The talisman is a reminder. So sometimes I have a talisman that I love. It's a little, in AA, I'll give you that. This AA gives out these medallions that are like talismans. People carry them and say, this is my sobriety length, and it's very, very meaningful that little poker chip, because it represents a saved life. So even though it's just a chip, what it represents to you. So it's the same thing. You may have had an experience in your life that is so meaningful that you've overcome something. And that's something that you have to remember you have done. And so, that's really what I mean by that, about the talisman and the medicine bag, and being able to remember that all the wisdom that you have, is yours. And courage and perseverance are talismans, and and the treasures, I love the Joseph Campbell quote, if it is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life, where you stumble, there lies your treasure.
Wow. Nice one.
It's pretty cool.
Nice one. Well,
yeah.
Okay. So, and I guess on that note, let's jump into the Institute. I have been doing readings really for the past 22, 23 years, and over the course of time, I've taught many workshops, many classes, and I teach always what I know and what I've experienced. I've got, my new book is called Weight Loss for People Who Feel Too Much. It's coming out in March. Wow. So I have an ongoing online seminar. I used to be very, very heavy, and it's for people who have empathy, over empathy for others. Many caregivers tend to be overweight, and it's for people who, when diets don't work, it's because their emotions and the fact that they're picking up other people's feelings and how to protect themselves, etc. So, and so many, I've had quite a few people that come and that have come to my intensives over the past 3 years based on my book, The Map, that want to learn this. So I decided, what my real passion is to empower others so that they can empower others. So, I decided to put my first training program together for last August, and I had 22 people show up to be, certified as an intuitive coach. So I trademarked, I actually own the trademark for the words intuitive coach, and I decided to put together a holistic program that covers everything from wealth co-creation, or it's wealth energetics, to, issues with weight, or the weight of the world, if you will, burden, weight. And I'm teaching people how to use oracle cards as part of their coaching curriculum or therapy or therapeutic
business, and also in relationship, heart dynamics it's called. So there's modules that I've created for 2012. People can, they can become certified as an intuitive coach, and then it's basically a business in a box. But mostly this was created for people who are already working in this field that are looking for a unique and interesting process that they can add to their repertoire or their modalities. And the Envision process, again, it's a trademark process that I lead people through that is in the book, The Map. I'm going to train people how to work with others with that. So that's actually starting January 25th. The first class is called Wealth Energetics. It's 6 weeks, components online, and then you come to a weekend, and I use brain entrainment, binaural beats brain entrainment technology, which is fantastic. It's so fascinating. I became obsessed with it years ago when I ran into the HemiSync product.
Okay.
And, I almost did something with them, but Lori Monroe was Robert Monroe's daughter, and she died of cancer. So, we never got this thing off the ground. I was kind of spooked out but I never lost my fascination for it, but I finally found somebody in Australia that had access to the technology and something that I really think could help people. What it does is it enables the brain to get into different states, like alpha states, theta states, or delta states, all very deep meditative states, where you are more susceptible to affirmations or subconscious reprogramming. So I'm really pulling out all the stops for people so they can learn it themselves, and then they can teach others or work with other people to support them.
Excellent. Well, how does someone who wants to do this, how do they get in touch with you?
They have to get on a list first. Okay. They have to actually send in a note that they're interested to my assistant, Michelle, at toamazeinc.com. Her name is right on my website. That's MICHELLE at toamazeinc.com, TOOAMAZEINC.com. It's right on my website. And they just say that they're interested in learning more about the Master Intuitive Coach Institute. And we're going to be sending out an email in about 10 days, just announcing and how it's going to work and what to expect. Because people can actually specialize in one area, or they can just do one. But it is a holistic coaching program. Excellent. I'm excited. I'm so excited about it. I can't tell you. I'm not kidding you. I have had such phenomenal, the people who came, one of them is a professor. She taught the material to an MBA group that she teaches in Masters in Business Administration. She's an executive coach as well. She's a phenomenally intelligent, brilliant woman. So I was so proud, and her students loved it. So, I know there's something to it, and people have told me it was the best coaching program that they've been to. So, not to toot my own horn, because I really did draw on other people's. Really, I'm inspired by others' work, but I have created a unique process, unique to my coaching institute that people can learn and work. It's just, and I've even got this woman working with these kids before I decided to train, because she asked me. So she started working with these young teenagers at risk in an urban or inner city kids that she was working with. She had gotten my book, and I couldn't tell her not to do it, because she was like, I just wanted to tell you that I've been working with these kids, and they just completely love this. Wow. So they're able to talk about, the goblin and, the shadow, using these characters. Right. That I've created. So I know I'm onto something, and it's working.
Exactly. And we have 1 minute left. And the great thing about, since you mentioned with kids, is so many of their video games and the movies that they watch, it's all about myth in one form or another. Yep. So it's really easy for them to connect and comprehend it, and they're still connected to the childlike innocence that many of us adults, we tend to lose our ability to imagine, et cetera, as we get older. But well, thank you very, 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 very much, Colette, for taking the time out to come on the show. I will be in touch with you very, very soon, because I got a couple of things I want to chat with you about. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and good luck. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in today. I pray that the lesson today has assisted you in living a sacred life. Blessings, joy, and love to everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.